Hello, good morning, and good evening, everyone. Namaste. Myself, Upasana, welcomes you on Upasana's Live. Hope you all are having a great weekend. Without wasting a minute, I would like to introduce you to our guest today. We are very grateful to have a wonderful yoga personality today with us. So, just introducing you about her. Shana Meyerson, a wonderful and a humble person. She is an internationally acclaimed creator of YOGAthletica, many yogis, yoga for kids. Based out of Los Angeles, she lives a life that is dedicated to her practice, her teachings, and her students. Shana is all about keeping it real and keeping it fun while never losing sight of classic beauty of yoga. You can check her YouTube channel on YOGAthletica too. So I am inviting her. Hi,
Hi, how are you? Namaste.
I'm Namaste. I'm fine. How are you?
I'm good. You get the distinct pleasure of seeing me without braids for a change. Do you still know who I am?
And thank you so much for coming today on our show. Really grateful to have you.
It's my pleasure.
Okay, so I'm actually very excited to know more about you. Like, without wasting a minute, I'll just start. Like, how your yoga journey started?
Yeah, my yoga journey started purely on accident. Believe me, if you had told me the day before I started yoga that I'd be practicing yoga, much less teaching yoga someday, I would have laughed out loud. I I was a very, very intense athlete my whole life. And one day I broke my toe, not doing anything exciting. I was walking in my apartment and I ran into a piece of furniture. And so I couldn't go to the gym or bike or run or do any of the things that I was used to doing. So I'm like, fine, I'll try this stupid yoga thing. And the minute I walked into class, I knew that it was everything that I ever wanted and needed in my whole life on a mental, a physical, and on a deeply spiritual level. And it came to me exactly when I needed it. And so the reaction within me was so visceral. I just knew that this was a path that my life was leading me on. And so that's how it all began. It wasn't
Great,
expected or planned.
great. And you do lovely yoga. I mean, I'm really, I just see, wow, so wonderfully you with a soft flow, it's so perfect.
I thank you a lot. I mean, there. First of all, as you and I both know, there's no perfection in this practice, nor is there a physical goal other than to have, you know, a practice on the mat to supplement our practice off the mat, right? And so whatever looks easy or natural to me, it's because I've been practicing for 2 hours a day for 20 years.
Wow,
So it's not
great.
that it's easy. It's just that, when you put in a lot of work, it becomes more natural, just like all of the whole yoga practice, all of the kindness and all of the yamas and the niyamas and the restrictions and the observances and in everything about yoga. The more you practice it, the more it becomes an inextricable piece of who you are, right?
Right,
That's where
right.
the flow comes from.
Right. Even on your page, like you are serving for humanity and so much fundraising you do, it shows how humble, how noble, how wonderful soul you are. It's not only about the asanas practice you do, but even being a human, we can, learn from you a lot in this field too.
I really appreciate that. I think that, I mean, what drew me to yoga, honestly, different from, say, the gym, was the spiritual aspect. And 20 years ago, yoga was a much more traditional practice than it is now, at least
Right.
in America, where there's a lot of gimmicks and it's mostly just physical, right? And so as time has gone on, and I feel like the yoga industry, at least in America, not in India, but is moving further and further from anything resembling actual yoga. I don't mean on a physical basis, but as a holistic practice, that I've gone deeper and deeper into making sure that the yoga that is my life, that is the kindness, that is, taking care of the world around me, that is the depth of my soul, is so much more important than anything that goes on my mat. And, the mat is the practice for my life, right? The mat isn't my practice so I can be better at handstands. The mat is my practice so I can be better at being a human being and being patient and having perseverance and having my santosha, my contentment, but my tapas, my fire, and just bringing it all into one space and then carrying it into my day and into my life.
Great. Great. Very nice.
Thank you.
So, on this, I would like to ask you, how to build the strength and how to practice handstand and headstand in the better and the best way that you do. Your asanas and your practices. When I tried to, first it was looking so easy, and when it started, when I started doing it, I was like, a lot of years practice is there in this asana or
Yeah.
in this practice.
And then, I mean, that's so important because, so I have a very comprehensive YouTube channel, for example, that explains poses. And each video is 10 or 15 minutes per pose. So people watch
Okay.
it thinking, oh, in 10 or 15 minutes, I'm going to be pressing into a handstand. But they don't realize that 10 years went into that 10 minutes, right? And
Right,
so
right.
I think that first of all, the main thing that people need to understand about the more challenging poses or the more challenging aspects of the physical practice is to release yourself from the expectation of the final product and instead focus on the process. The process is where the magic is at, because the process is where the control and the stability comes from, right? If I'm just looking to an end goal, right? Let's put this in life terms. I want to get married. Okay. I want to meet a man. I want to get married. If that's my goal, then what about the process of falling in love? What about the process of actually finding the right man for me instead of just a man? What about the process of courtship and dating? And, you don't just get married, right? And so life is not a series of moments, right? Most of life is the journey punctuated by moments. So again, if we look at
Awesome.
our practice as a microcosm of our lives, instead of saying, I need to balance in a handstand in the middle of the room with my legs straight up, to step it back and say, I need to focus on what I can do to learn how to build the strength and build the flexibility and build the balance and find the process that works for me. So wherein I could say, oh, you want to be good at handstands. My first thing would be, you need a holistic practice. You can't just practice handstands. You got to practice the full Monty. You have to have a full, well-rounded yoga practice and practice more or less every day and push yourself to your edges. And I could go through this whole list, right? Do lots of chaturangas or, lots of core work. But honestly, it's the best way to get to a physical goal in yoga is to release yourself from the goal and dedicate yourself to the practice. Does that make
Great,
sense?
great, awesome, awesome. The moment you were saying, I was thinking about it's not only about the asana, but in life too, like
Mm-hmm.
balancing and day by day step practice.
When I look at what you do, I mean, that's what I see. I see that you take yoga and you make it real and you apply it to living. You use these precepts, right? To say you want to live your fullest life. You take the yoga and you make it bigger. And that's what you do so beautifully. Yes, there's going to be parts that take place on a yoga mat, but 99% of it is not going to take place on the yoga mat, right? And
Right,
that's
right,
what you do. You take that kernel, right, that everybody in the
right.
world is doing now, asana practice, and you make it small because that's all it is, and you expand from there into all of life. And that's what I respect, and that's what I aim to do as well.
Great, great, awesome. So, what all works you do in yoga? Like, one is yoga YouTube channel, yours, and anything else in yoga?
Anything, there's nothing I don't do. So I have,
I read about, hashtag yoga athletic cause, something like that.
yeah. So my Yoga Athletic cause is my every month doing a different fundraiser, where I create a pose, something silly or funky, and everybody who posts the same pose, I donate $1 to that charity, up to $180. Honestly, it winds up being $80, but it's my distinct pleasure to be able to represent that way. And so my goal each month is to pick a charity, usually something obscure, but this month it's a very, very famous charity. Um, and to my goal is to get people excited about doing something kind, right? It's not about winning yoga pants, or another bracelet. There's no prize here other than feeling good that you did something for the world. So this month, right now, I have a Yoga Athletic cause going on right now, for St. Jude Hospital, which cures or treats children at zero cost, including traveling there, including the food, including their families lodging. And it's such a beautiful cause that I have $9 in matching funds from other people in the Instagram community
Great,
who are also giving $1 or $2 per post. So that's a very, very big
great.
thing to me. I've been doing that once a month. Yeah.
Very nice, very nice. God bless you for this.
Thank you. I
And
know that not everybody is in, you, excuse me, not, I had to sneeze. Not everybody is in
God bless.
a financial position to be able to give money. And I understand and respect that fully, but everybody is in a position to just give some love by doing a pose, right? It's so simple. And then that way, everybody, regardless of whether you have $1 million or no dollars, can contribute to the greater good of the world around us. So, yeah.
Great. Even I would love to be a part of it.
Love to see you post. So the current, this it's called hashtag Saint Yogis this month, and it's going through June 20th. So still a little more than a week left to post if you want to join.
Sure, sure, will do. And any other guide from your side to stay committed or consistent on yoga practice? It's very difficult for me actually.
Well, I think, make it very, very simple for you. You ready? Commit to
Yeah,
your yoga just like you commit to anything in your life. Put it on your calendar. It is a date with yourself. You and I had a plan for today. So were you thinking, oh, maybe I'll show up, maybe I won't show up? Did you think that? Or did you think I'm definitely going to be there at 5:30 because we planned on it? What happened? Did
Definitely.
you were definitely going to be here, right? So
Yeah.
make that commitment to yourself. I mean, with COVID, because I never leave my house, it's very easy for me to practice. But like my only thing is I'm on my mat by 10 a.m. every day, period. Right? No matter how much time I waste on Instagram in the morning, when 10 a.m. comes, the phone goes down and I'm on my mat. It's a commitment. But when I used to drive around and do things a lot more, I would literally have it on my calendar. I can practice at 6 a.m. I can practice at 9:45 a.m. And it was a commitment to myself. And so you have to, if you want to get committed to your practice, you need to be committed to yourself. Like, can you do that? Are you personally worth that commitment and that love?
I actually commit myself, but then what happens is on my mat, I'm not there.
That's okay
My
though.
kids come.
You know what they say? They
And
say,
and both of my kids are on the yoga mat and they don't allow me to do. And where it takes only 30 minutes, it used to take more than 2 hours, and then I'm just fed up that okay, I'll keep the mat aside. I first serve you and I'll look after you first. So it goes delayed by
well,
time.
showing up is half the practice. So even if you just do 10 minutes, it doesn't mean that you're not practicing. And if you're surrounded by children,
Okay.
it means you're surrounded by love. And by the way, that's part of your yoga too. And maybe you set up a mat for your child or two mats for your children next to you and let them do yoga with you. They don't have to do what you're doing. Maybe they just mess around. But the way that I've always looked at it is that your best practice is measured by your worst day. There are some days
Oh.
when I go to my mat and it's like boom, 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 right? Like 100%, no matter what I do, everything is perfect. And then I have days, they're usually my mental days when my mind is just not the least bit present and I'm falling everywhere and I can't nail whatever, a handstand that I could usually do in my sleep. And I say, you know what? You're going to stay on this mat until it's done. I don't care if it takes 3 hours today. You're going to just keep going. And if that means that I need to stop and take some breaths, then I'll stop and take some breaths. But when you can make it through those tough days, that's what shows your character, right? Just like life. It's
Wow.
easy to get through the easy days, but the ones that make us stronger are the challenging days. So the other
Right,
thing
right.
is, I always remind myself, and I have to remind myself sometimes, I always feel better after I practice. Always.
Yeah.
No matter what.
Yeah.
So no matter how much I do not want to be on the mat that morning, I show up and I know that when I'm done with it all, I will feel better. So there's
Right.
that carrot, right? That like just
Right.
make it through. Make it through. It's going to set you up for a better day. So if nothing else,
Right.
make it make it selfish. I want to give myself this one gift today, and then my other 22 hours can be completely dedicated to other people. But I'm going to dedicate
Okay.
these 2 hours to me because I'm worth it.
Right.
So,
Right.
yeah. I just think that if you just make yourself important, getting to the mat will no longer be challenging.
Right, right. Actually, I'm a little bit a sensitive person. From last few days, I was going literally up and down with lots of emotional changes, and my mental status were disturbed. And so I just took short breaks in between. That yeah, I want to be connected to yoga, and as even I'm a human being, there's are days which are hard and up and down. So I was just out of my mind state that time, but now slowly, slowly coming back. I'm trying to be on. this will make me more committed, and when my mind is focused on it, then I'll be able to, focus more on that.
Yeah, absolutely. It's funny. I have a quote on my refrigerator, and I don't know the exact words, even though it's a quote, but basically it says, I look at my life like a heartbeat. If it doesn't have ups and downs, I'm already dead.
Right, right.
Right? So
Right.
keep in mind that, it's the downs that define our ups, right? There's no such thing as up without down. Unfortunately, we do live in a world of duality, right? This is something we talk about of course, in the Yoga Sutras. Our world that we live in is a world of duality. And so we define light by the darkness, and we define the goodness by the evil, right? And we define the hard parts by the easy parts, and it all balances out, right? I mean, that's the yoga, is finding the equilibrium. It's not about ignoring the hard parts or running away from them or even wishing them away. I always learn my
Right,
best
right.
lessons from my hardest times. You know, it's funny. I think about in Judaism on the new year, right? We say Shana Tova, which means a good year, right? Now you're like, so who cares? Well, we never say Happy New Year. We never say
Okay.
Shana Sameach or Samecha, which would be like a happy year. We say a good year, because sometimes a good year may not be a happy year, right? Like, we all,
Awesome.
as a world, have learned so much this last year. Now, I'm not going to say it
Right.
was a happy year, but I will say that I've grown more in this last year than any year of my life. And so,
Awesome.
yeah, so if we look at our days as good days, right? Regardless of whether they're happy, regardless of whether they're comfortable, but we look at them because we're learning in every single moment and we're growing, then it shifts our perspective so dramatically, so that every day
Awesome.
can be a good day.
Wonderful. Lot to learn from you.
Thank you.
So, yeah, my questions are done for today. Anything else you would like to say?
I hope that people will join my yoga athletic causes. Again, it's such an easy way to give back to charity. And of course, I have my YouTube for learning poses. If really what happens on the mat is what's more important to you, that's fine too. It is an aspect of the practice that's a big part of my life. And I also have a Vimeo channel that has full-length classes if you want to get, the full practice in. But I just want to emphasize before I go that asana is not yoga. Asana is only a piece of yoga. And if we want to live a yogic life, if we want to consider ourselves yogis and yoginis, it's not an easy path. And it's one that requires a tremendous amount of spiritual dedication. I hope that some people maybe watching this will look a little deeper into who they are and what this practice really means, because I just want to say from my heart, from somebody who does do all the handstands and does do all the crazy stuff, I just want to tell you, it's not what's important. It's not what's important to me, and I hope it's not what's important to you, because otherwise it's gymnastics. Right. So
Right,
I urge
right,
everybody to go deeper and see how the richness of this practice can honestly change your whole life in every possible way, including the bad
right,
days, to make everything a good day.
right, right, right. Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you
Thank
so
you.
much for coming today, giving your time.
I really appreciate your inviting me, and prayers and blessings to you and your family. And
Thank you. Thank you so much.
my heart is with you.
Thank you.
Okay.
See you
Namaste.
soon.
Okay.
Namaste.
Bye.
Bye.